both talk a little bit about the preparation involved for the roles that you've taken on. I mean, I have found, particularly as a person of color who's not gone to independent schools, there are things that I just didn't know about until I encountered the experience while working through it as an administrator here and through other experiences that I've had prior to coming to the department. And so if you're not, a part of independent school culture where you've had family members or older siblings or other folks who've gone through, and then as a person of color, if you're not exposed to certain social circles and settings, coming into a space like this can be foreign and quite difficult because there are things that are unsaid and unspoken that you kind of have to figure out and learn through the challenges associated with transitioning into the space. Can you talk a bit about the preparation involved in taking on the role as a principal? I mean, some of it is serendipity, right?
Yeah.
You're in the right place at the right time. But also the people who have appointed the both of you for the roles that you've been appointed for saw something that you were able to bring to the table. I mean, it's not just dumb luck that they saw you and said, oh, you know what, let's get her in here. There was something that you were prepared for that made the appointment one that people could get behind for incentive, that made the appointment that, in the roles that you've taken on Lake Forest Academy, something that folks could get behind, and you were prepared for it. Can you talk a little bit about that preparation and what you think prepared you for the roles that you've both taken on?
Whenever you work with children, as Bev said, you are prepared to take on any role in that school. Whether you're coming out of a public school, going into an independent school, I like to think back to what Bill Gates tells us. You form relationships with the individuals, with the students that you teach in the classroom. You make it relevant, whatever subject you teach, and you raise the bar high. The new 3 R's: relationship, relevance, and rigor. When people see, as Bev said, you are doing your job at that highest level, you are prepared to go into any position. You know how to form relationships. You know how to make it relevant, and the rigor is always there. When I was at Lake Forest Academy, the relationships that I built, especially with the administrators, the first 2 was a husband and wife team that brought me into the independent schools. Forming relationships with those individuals and going to the People of Color Conference. Having that network of individuals that I met at the People of Color Conference. I had no idea that Pam Buchanan Miller was at the Latin School until I met her at the People of Color Conference. I had no idea. Charlie was in Ohio when I met Charlie at the People of Color Conference. Damien was at another school, Beverly. Everybody that I met at the People of Color Conference, they were at different schools. That network of people helped me. Making sure of what I did in the classroom was at the highest level. When my administrators came to me, first of all, to be the Dean of Multicultural Affairs, I had gone to the People of Color Conference. I had sat on the Isaacs board. We started the Midwest Diversity Team. Everything that we could do dealing with diversity, it was there. I used it in the classroom. They knew what I was capable of doing as far as work because of what I did in the classroom. So when they asked me to be that first Dean of Multicultural Affairs, this is what I was doing. And as Beverly said, she always wanted to go back to the classroom. I always stayed in the classroom. I always taught AP Bio or in a physics class, regardless of what administrative role that I had. I have to have that connection. When the Dean of Students left at Lake Forest Academy, I had a new principal then, and they know I'm at the People of Color Conference. I'm doing everything that I could possibly do in the Midwest with Pam and Charlie and Bev and Damien and David. I met you. also at the People of Color Conference. Amani, I met at the People of Color Conference. We didn't know each other then. They was in administrative roles, so I knew that if I went into the Dean of Students' office, I had someone in my network who could help me in that position. And trust me, when you talk about resources, my resources are human resources in the independent schools. I stayed at Lake Forest Academy all those years as the only person of color because I knew I had a Pam Buchanan. I knew I had a Monty. I knew I had a Charlie. I knew I had a David. I had a Damien. I had a Beverly. And Damien was doing something else. That I had people everywhere that gave me what I needed so I could stay there and do whatever I had to do. I didn't become principal of head of school, but trust me, I could do it. You know why I could do it? Because of my network of people. And I always call on my human resources. So that's what prepared me, is the individuals that I know, because they're there for me all the time. So that's me.
Well, I think, the most important thing that goes on in any school, the thing that is not valued most in any school, is teaching. And so one of the things that I always like to make sure my teachers still know is that I can teach. I frequently go into their classrooms and teach. There were a couple of occasions, one when a teacher needed to be away for a couple of weeks. She was having problems with INS, and I didn't have a substitute that I wanted to put in there right away, and it was third grade. I said, I don't want to teach third grade. So I taught third grade for 2 weeks, and then tried to be the principal after that, and I don't recommend that. But those teachers saw that I could still go into the classroom and teach. And then a couple of years ago, another teacher had to leave early for a family leave. The sub that we wanted was not quite ready to come in yet. I wasn't going to put a sub and then another sub in there, so I could teach fourth grade for a week. And I did that. So I think that is important. And other things that I knew were missing in terms of preparation had to do with administrative kinds of things. So Harvard has a principal center. I went there for a couple of weeks in the summer, and ISM has a principal center with that. And then continued my own professional development around teaching, because again, I think the most important thing, particularly in the lower school, is making sure that